In today's day and age, the biggest animal on planet Earth is the blue whale, measuring a massive 98 feet long and weighing in at over 173 tons. Nothing else in today's wildlife comes even close to being so big. But let's go back 66 million years ago, when dinosaurs roamed the Earth. Massive and intimidating creatures were just a part of everyday life. Dinosaurs that were half the width of a football pitch in length and weighing the equivalent of around 37 cars was simply commonplace. Carnivores like the T-Rex had teeth that were 12 inches long, while other predatory creatures boasted claws the length of a bowling pin, and gigantic, long-necked sauropods left footprints over twice the length of that of an elephant. It's hard to imagine that such beings once existed on our planet, their size incomprehensible to many of us. While today, we'll be looking at 5 of the biggest dinosaurs to have ever walked the Earth. The Utahraptor. On the whole, the dromaeosaurid family of dinosaurs is not exactly famous for its large and weighty creatures. Raptors, as they are more commonly known, were often small, slight and agile. Enter the Utahraptor, found in 1991 by Jim Kirkland. The Utahraptor's sickle claw was a terrifying 15 inches in length when it was alive, twice the length of its relative, the Deinonychus, and 6 times that of a velociraptor. The original discovery of this new species of raptor was actually in 1975, but its remains had been left unidentified until Jim, spurred on by his discovery of the sickle claw, located them and made the connection. The Utahraptor is estimated to have been 23 feet long and weighed over 600 pounds, roughly the equivalent of a female polar bear. The claws on its hands were specifically designed for cutting, and its teeth angled forward more than other raptors. However, the Utahraptor wasn't simply a longer version of its relatives. It's thought to have been a much bulkier and more heavy-built creature, with its skull resembling that of a small Tyrannosaurus. It's also believed to have been fluffy and covered in feathers, and while it was not as fast as its cousins, it wasn't as slow as sauropods, perhaps moving at a speed somewhere in between the iguanodon. The location of the bones that were found in Utah indicated that the dinosaurs had succumbed to quicksand traps. The Utahraptor is known to be a ground-dwelling bipedal creature that lived during the early Cretaceous period, before many of its relatives. Its social behaviours are, however, still up for debate. In early 2020, scientists proposed the idea that the Utahraptor and its fellow raptors possibly did not have the complex social behaviours of modern pack-hunting animals. In TV and films, most famously of course the likes of Jurassic Park, the animals are often seen in small groups. Experts on the topics haven't yet reached a final conclusion, but there is much debate still going on. If Utahraptor did partake in this behaviour, a pack could have taken down a huge 26-foot prey weighing between 1 and 2 tons. One thing that appears to be certain, however, the thickness of the Utahraptor's leg bones made it a vicious killer. It's suspected of being an ambush hunter, preying on large creatures, and likely heavily relied on its jaw to deliver the final blow. It also had an important ecological role in its habitat at the lower part of the Cedar Mountain Formation as a carnivore. The Utahraptor does not appear to have made it across the pond, and has only ever been located in the US so far. The Quetzalcoatlus. Quetzalcoatlus, aptly named after the Aztec god, the feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl, was the biggest pterosaur in existence and possibly even the largest flying creature in history. Discovered in Texas in 1971, Quetzalcoatlus stood at around 16 feet and weighed between 440 and 550 pounds. The first creature to be found had a wingspan of 33 feet, and while it was keenly estimated that they could have a wingspan of between 36 and 64 feet, this has since been disproven. In recent years, it's been determined that they likely had a wingspan of between 33 and 36 foot. To put that into perspective, the iconic double-decker buses in London are around 27 feet long. Smaller creatures discovered with an 18-foot wingspan were thought to have been younger in age, but it's now believed that they are of a secondary smaller species. There has been much debate and speculation surrounding Quectocalactus, starting with its long, sharp, pointed beak, which was originally thought to have been more blunt. Initially, the creature was thought to have been a land scavenger, but in the 1990s, things changed when experts began to argue that due to its beak shape, which had a distinct lack of a hook shape to it, it could not be a land scavenger, and it was suggested that it caught fish while flying. Then in 2007, this theory was also argued against, with scientists believing that Quectocalactus had anatomy which was much too different to that of known skimmers, birds who skimmed the water to feed. It was also added that this was not an energy-efficient way for the creature to feed. In recent years, it's believed that it hunted like a modern stork, which prey upon small vertebrae on land and in small streams. While some species of Quectocalactus may have been omnivores, the larger ones were thought to have been strict carnivores. Another point of contention among the scientific community is whether or not Quectocalactus could fly. After its initial discovery, it was estimated to have weighed considerably less than the modern estimates of over 400 pounds. So when scientific studies were conducted on whether it could fly, they were extremely successful. However, once the weight of the creature was increased, experts began to argue that it was likely a land dweller, much like an ostrich, given its huge stature and weight. More recent studies, however, disprove this yet again. It's been indicated that Quectocalactus was capable of reaching speeds of 80 miles per hour while flying, and that it could be in flight for between 7 and 10 days, at an altitude of 15,000 feet. It's believed that it took off by launching upwards on all fours like a bat. The wing bones of offspring were already formed upon hatching, making them capable of independent flight. Quectocalactus eggs were thought to be soft and leathery, absorbing nutrients from the ground like the eggs of a turtle. The sizable brain of the dinosaur suggests that it was actually quite an intelligent creature, and due to the nature of it being flying and bird-like, it likely had impeccable eyesight. Its beak notably contained no teeth. Many have also observed its massive skull, which could be up to 10 foot long. However, its skull was made considerably lighter by the fact that its bones were especially hollow, similar to that of modern-day birds. The structure of these bones was made up of crisscross layers and struts across the middle. Combined, this prevented the creature's body from bending, buckling or breaking, making it a formidable force. Can you just imagine these things still existed? Spinosaurus. The widely known Spinosaurus has so far retained the title of being the largest carnivorous dinosaur. Weighing as much as 10 tons, the large finned monster lived in the late Cretaceous period in North Africa and was thought to be between 49 and 52 foot long. It sported a long, narrow skull like a crocodile, which was around 6 foot in length itself. Its teeth were straight with no serrations. The first Spinosaurus skeleton was found in Egypt in 1912, but its remains were later destroyed in 1994 during World War II, when Munich was bombed by the British, and as a result, the museum in which the skeleton was homed was also ruined. Parts of the dinosaur, whose name meant spine lizard for the fin on its back, have been unearthed across 4 different continents. For a while after the initial remains were ruined, all scientists and paleontologists had to go on was the information available, details and drawings, mostly from when it was first found. It was a few decades later when miners in Morocco uncovered another set of skeletal remains. Over the years, there has been much debate and speculation surrounding the Spinosaurus. As many of its characteristics are rather peculiar, most notably is the unique fin on its back, which is an extension of the vertebra. Scientists have proposed numerous theories as to why the creature has this odd spine, noting that it could be for intimidation or heat regulation, or perhaps for show, in the same vein as a peacock's fanciful train. The heat regulation theory has since been ruled out, but a new train of thought was proposed instead, that the fin was similar to the dorsal fins of a sailfish, serving hydrodynamic purposes. In more recent years, with the help of a discovery that showed a more complete skeleton of the dinosaur's tail, it's now believed that Spinosaurus hunted both terrestrial and marine prey, and was highly semi-aquatic, living both on land and in the water like a crocodile. Its tail is thought to have been used as a paddle to propel the creature when it was in the water. All of this makes the Spinosaurus the first known dinosaur to be able to swim, a huge revelation for the paleontology community. Adding to this idea is that the creature had a slender torso, shockingly short legs, and thick-walled bones like a penguin or manatee, thus leading scientists to further believe Spinosaurus was aquatic. Its short legs have caused many to hypothesize that the creature was four-legged. Its tail is thought to have delivered more than 8 times the forward thrust than that of terrestrial theropods, dinosaurs who are characterized by their 3-toed limbs and hollow bones. It's also thought to do this twice as efficiently as other dinosaurs, making the Spinosaurus a truly incredible creature. Shandungosaurus. Meaning Shandun lizard, Shandungosaurus is known to be the largest duck-billed dinosaur to have ever existed. Like many of the other creatures featured on this list, this dinosaur lived during the late Cretaceous period. It was founded in China, specifically in the Guangxi group in the Shandun Peninsula, and was first described in 1973 on the basis of 5 recently unearthed skeletons. Although none of them were complete, the partial remains were of differing areas, allowing experts to put together a rather full and convincing idea of what the creature looked like while it was alive. As a result, Shandungosaurus has been dubbed as the largest hadrosaurid, the scientific name for the duck-billed dinosaur family. Based on the mounted skeleton in the Geological Institute of China in Beijing, Shandungosaurus was around 54 feet long and weighed a massive 16 tons. A smaller skeleton present had the creature at 48 foot. In 2016, a dinosaur exhibit in Shandun province was recognized by the Guinness Book of Records as having the largest hadrosaurid skeleton on display. Like many duck-billed dinosaurs, Shandungosaurus had a toothless beak, but had 1,500 tiny chewing teeth in its jaws, allowing it to mash up food for efficient digesting. It also featured a large hole near its nostrils, which is thought to have been covered by a loose flap of skin, which could be inflated to make sound. Others have suggested that this hole may have once been the site of soft tissue growth, possibly accounting for why this specific creature did not appear to have any crests, unlike many of its relatives. Shandungosaurus is believed to have travelled in herds and also cared for its young offspring. After its initial discovery, other species of the dinosaur were thought to have been uncovered, but it turned out that the other 2 dinosaurs were differently aged with growth differences. Shandungosaurus is thought to have possibly even been the largest non-sauropod. Although Spinosaurus is roughly the same in size, it is considerably lighter. Many scientists believe weight is an important determining factor when discussing which creature was bigger. Much like Argentinosaurus, we will talk about next, it's unknown why the creature grew so large as it did. Scientific theories suggest an abundance of food resources, or that perhaps its large size allowed it to escape its enemies. Argentinosaurus. Known as the biggest herbivore to have ever existed, Argentinosaurus was discovered by a farmer in 1987 in Argentina, hence the creature's name. It lived during the Cretaceous period and was initially believed to weigh a whopping 100 tons, but more modern-day estimates put the dinosaur around the 75-ton mark. It was thought to be 120 foot in length from head to tail, making it around half the width of your average British football pitch. Given the dinosaur's huge stature, it is estimated to have been incredibly slow-moving, walking at a pace of around 5 miles per hour. There has been much speculation about why Argentinosaurus grew to the size that it did, with scientists offering explanations involving fast and energy-efficient feeding, and quick growth and frequent breeding. The creatures are thought to have laid about 15 eggs at a time, which were around the size of a beach ball. Their nest site in Patagonia is around 15 kilometers in length, or about 9 miles, and contains tens of thousands of eggs. Surprisingly, newly hatched offspring are thought to have been no longer than around 3.3 feet and no heavier than 5 kilograms, making them the size equivalent of a large chihuahua. It's estimated that the dinosaurs took around 40 years to reach their full size, growing at around 40 kilograms per day. Argentinosaurus is also widely considered the heaviest dinosaur to have existed. It's classified as a titanosaur, a family of lightly armoured sauropods who lived in the Cretaceous period. Sauropods are characterised by their long neck and tail, the fact that they walk on all fours, and their plant-based diet. Think of the commonly known Diplodocus or Brachiosaurus, the latter of which was featured in the very first Jurassic Park release. So far, only one specimen of Argentinosaurus has been discovered. Its title as the heaviest and largest overall herbivore is constantly being threatened by the discovery of new fossils, but to this day, it's still the most convincing in terms of physical evidence. A truly incredible animal that has walked this very earth that we do. So that's it for today's video. We hope you've enjoyed, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.